2:30 in the morning, under the pale and watchful eye of a full moon, the small town of Atchison, Kansas, lay silent. Streets that had buzzed with life during the day now seemed to hold their breath. Only one house, crouched on North 2nd Street, seemed to draw the moonlight in, its windows reflecting a cold gleam. The Sally House. For decades, this unassuming Victorian had been a magnet for whispers, rumors, and the brave-hearted, or the foolhardy, who sought to glimpse what lay beyond the veil. But in October of 2023, one final group of investigators entered the Sally House for a lockdown unlike any before. Their goal was simple: 72 hours, no exits, no outside contact, and a relentless pursuit of proof. What they found would change the story of Sally House forever. The team came prepared, their equipment state-of-the-art. Cameras were mounted in every room, infrared sensors swept the darkened hallways, and sensitive microphones were placed on stairwells and in the infamous nursery, where, according to legend, a young girl named Sally had met her tragic fate nearly a century and a half ago. The nerves of the investigators were taut, but determination overrode fear. The doors locked behind them with a finality that echoed down the empty corridor. For 3 days and nights, they would not leave. In the first hours, the house held its secrets close. The team documented baseline readings, mapping the temperature fluctuations and electromagnetic fields. But as the night deepened, the air thickened with anticipation. At precisely 2:17 a.m., the first anomaly occurred. The lead investigator, a skeptic until that moment, watched as an object, a child's doll, left on a shelf for decades, rocked gently and then toppled to the floor. The cameras caught every moment. There were no drafts, no footsteps, just the eerie, silent movement. Not long after, the house began to whisper. The team's digital recorders, set to capture the faintest of sounds, picked up voices where only silence should have been. The first EVP, a child's giggle, high-pitched and distant, sent chills through the group. Hours later, another EVP emerged, this time a plaintive voice whispering the words "stay." The team replayed the audio, straining to hear the source, but the house answered only with more silence. On the second night, the tension escalated. One investigator, standing near the foot of the staircase, let out a gasp and dropped his flashlight. The camera zoomed in, capturing 3 red marks beginning to welt across his forearm. The team rushed to his side, documenting the scratches as they formed in real time. There was no explanation, no splinters, no sharp edges, no sign of anything that could have caused such precise, angry marks. Yet the camera's eye missed nothing. The scratches had appeared from nowhere, right in front of them. The electrical systems proved just as unpredictable. Cameras flickered and died, batteries drained in mere minutes, and static drowned out the walkie-talkies. At one point, the monitors in the command center, all hardwired to external power, went black, plunging the team into darkness. When the lights returned, several devices had reset themselves, erasing hours of footage. The team, growing weary, began to feel as though the house itself was fighting back, resisting their efforts to capture the truth. For 72 hours, the investigators endured, cataloging every whisper, every movement, every inexplicable event. They were determined not to leave until they had something undeniable. And, in the early hours of that final morning, they got it. A camera stationed in the nursery, left running while the team regrouped downstairs, caught an extraordinary moment. As the team later reviewed the footage, they saw a shadow, distinct, with the outline of a head and shoulders, slip across the room and pause by the window. The figure lingered, then faded, as if melting into the wall. The room was empty. Every team member could be accounted for on other cameras. There was no one in the nursery, and yet the shadow had moved with purpose, as if watching, waiting. After the lockdown ended, the team emerged, pale and shaken. They left the house behind and returned to their homes, each carrying a weight that would never fully lift. The evidence collected was undeniable. Multiple EVPs, objects moving on their own, a team member scratched on camera, and persistent electrical interference that defied explanation. But there was something else, something they hadn't known about until days later. A week after the investigation, previously unseen footage surfaced. A member of the tech crew, reviewing the hours of recordings from the outside cameras, noticed something strange. At 3:11 a.m. on the second night, a pale face, a child's perhaps, or something that only resembled a child, peered from a second-floor window. The eyes were dark, the expression unreadable. It lingered only a moment, then slipped away. But at that hour, every team member was documented as being downstairs. No one was upstairs. The footage was clear, the timestamp indisputable. Word of the investigation spread quickly through Atchison, stirring up old fears and new rumors. The house, already infamous for its haunted past, became a place of whispered warnings. Locals recalled the stories from the 1990s, when Tony and Deborah Pickman had fled the home after months of torment, unexplained burns, scratches, and the feeling of being watched. Those stories had drawn television crews and paranormal investigators from across the country, but nothing quite like this had ever been captured before. The lead investigator, once eager to share his findings, abruptly withdrew from public view. He refused interviews, declined invitations, and, according to friends, would not even speak of the house. The rest of the team followed suit, retreating into silence. Whatever they had experienced in the Sally house was enough to end their careers in the field. They would not return. The town of Atchison, always wary but never quite closing the door to curiosity, made a decision. For the first time in decades, the Sally house was locked by order of the town council. Daytime tours and overnight investigations, once a staple of Atchison's haunted tourism, were suspended indefinitely. A heavy padlock was placed on the door. Only a select few held the key, and all entry was strictly forbidden. The official reason, posted on the town's website, cited safety concerns. The house, it was said, posed a risk of personal injury, not just from the structure itself, but from whatever forces seemed to linger within its walls. No serious injuries had been reported since the last tenants in 1983, but the events of the final lockdown were enough. The waiver, once a formality, was now a warning etched in every visitor's mind. Some places were not meant to be disturbed, yet in the bars and coffee shops of Atchison, another explanation circulated. Some believed the lockdown was not to protect people from the house, but to protect the town from whatever was inside. The stories grew in the telling, the shadow caught on camera, the scratching that would not heal, the chilling voice whispering, "Stay," through the static. Some claimed the house had changed, that the final lockdown had awakened something deeper, something that had been waiting, perhaps, for someone to notice. Today, the Sally house stands silent, its windows dark, its rooms undisturbed. The full moon still rises, casting its cold light across the faded paint and cracked porch. But no footsteps echo in the halls, and no laughter drifts from the nursery. The town keeps its distance, watching and waiting. The evidence remains, a collection of recordings, photographs, and memories that haunt those who witnessed them. The story of Sally House is unfinished. The house itself is a question, a challenge, a warning. It draws the curious, the brave, and the reckless, promising answers but rarely giving them. For some, it is a place of tragedy and loss, a home forever marked by the botched surgery that claimed a young life and began a legend. For others, it is a doorway to something unknowable, a place where the past refuses to rest, and the walls remember everything. No one knows what truly happened during those 72 hours. The footage has been analyzed, debated, and dismissed by skeptics, but never fully explained. The town of Atchison has returned to its routines, but the locked door on North 2nd Street remains, a silent sentinel over the mysteries within. Some nights, locals claim, the lights flicker in the upper windows. A shadow moves from room to room. A child's laughter, faint and distant, can be heard if you listen at the gate. But no one enters, and the key remains untouched. Sally House waits. Its secrets are safe, for now. But the story is not over. Some say the house is a trap, a place that catches more than just ghosts. Others believe it is a warning, a reminder that some places are meant to be left alone. One thing is certain. Those who entered in 2023 found what they were looking for, Proof, yes. But also something else. Something that cannot be captured on camera or recorded on tape. A sense of presence, of being watched, of not being alone. And the house? It waits, silent and locked, holding its secrets close. Some say it is to keep people safe. Others say it is to keep something inside. The full moon will rise again. The town will sleep. And the Sally house, ever patient, will wait for the next chapter in its haunted history.